What's going on, everybody? This is Clint with the Die Hard MMA podcast. This podcast was filmed exclusively for odds.com. Be sure to click the link below. Check it out. We've got everything that you need over there. We've got you covered for every sport. Thank you so much for the support and good luck on all your action this week. So next fight up, we have got Eddie Wineland coming back to the cage, taking on John Sexy Mexi Castaneda. And I just have to say that fight name because it's way too fun not to. Eddie Wineland, 24-14, a UFC staple. We've seen this guy forever. And John Castaneda, UFC newcomer, 17-5. And Eddie Wineland, James, he's literally the boxing meme guy. Like, he's got the curl handlebar mustache and kind of does this. He's literally that exact guy.
He is. Really interesting matchup. You can see here what they're doing. Obviously, prospect versus up-and-comer and John Castaneda here. Eddie Wineland, didn't have a chance to speak to him before this fight. I tried. Usually I get him, but I don't know. He wasn't responding to my text. We'll see. But 36 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach, taking on John Castaneda, who is 29 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. The thing that stands out right away, which is kind of an obvious thing, he barely fights, right? I mean, since basically fighting for the title, he's been sort of a one-a-year type guy, and I don't blame him. He's got a full-time job as a firefighter, as far as I know. So that's been taking up a lot of time here. But you look, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. That's the only time he's fought. He was sort of, fed to the wolves, sort of speak against Sean O'Malley in his last fight, fighting a much faster guy. Castaneda's not sort of, as explosive as like a Sean O'Malley is. So he doesn't have to worry about that in this fight. And obviously the edge and experience has to go to, Eddie Wineland, not even just in fights, but I mean, this is a guy who fought for the title against Henan Brown in Toronto. I was at that fight. It's just crazy to think that, this is a former title challenger now, but you almost forget about that because of how inactive he is. Now, John Castaneda had a tough debut. He had to fight Nathaniel Wood. I mean, that's, the guy's called the prospect, but he is one of the good fighters in that weight class. Had a couple losses on the regional scene prior to that. They were close fights for Combate. I believe that was part of a tournament as well. So a little bit different circumstances in terms of all that. I think we forget that Castaneda was actually on Contender Series back in 2017. Got a win over there against Chaden. Not even pronounce the last name, but pretty solid win there, but didn't get the finish. That's why he didn't get signed. So he's come back here. Now, I did have a chance to speak to Castaneda before this fight. Wasn't able to do any cross training for this one. He was back home in Minnesota doing his typical training with Greg Nelson, who, if you guys know, is sort of a staple there. But not that this matters that much, but a little tidbit. I did get to work a bit with Pat Barry and Rose Namajunas. I guess they were in town, did a little bit of work with him. So I think that's a positive sign as well. But Castaneda just kept things basic, didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything crazy. But he will have his good buddy, Dan Moret, the former UFC fighter, in his corner. They're like best friends. That's actually how Castaneda ended up training at MMA Lab a few years ago, was through Dan Moret. So, yeah, we'll see. But just based off activity, just based off upside, I got to go John Castaneda here. I'm not expecting a finish. I mean, Eddie Wineland, other than losing to O'Malley, pretty durable guy, went the distance with Perez and Dodson. I think Castaneda wins the decision here. A little bit faster, a little bit more polished in terms of what he can bring to the table at this age. And Eddie Wineland, look, he's the same age as me. He's 36, but, he is getting up there, and he has taken a bit of damage throughout his career. So I got to go with Castaneda just, due to activity, due to age. And I think this is a good spot for him to get it done. Would I bet him at minus 130? I think there's some upside there. If anything, I might look at the decision prop because, like I said, Wineland pretty durable. Castaneda wins by decision is plus 159. You get plus money there. I think that's worth a stab.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Yeah, so, I mean, you touched on a lot of the really solid points here. I like what Eddie Wineland does still, but his style is a little outdated. I mean, he's mostly a boxer, but that will play pretty well here against John Castaneda. He's got good head movement, a good big right cross, and he's willing to hit and return. He's one of these guys that likes to fight in the fire. He takes your punch and then fires back as hard as he possibly can. The only thing for me is this is a massive step down in competition for Eddie Wineland. I mean, if you look at the names on his record, I know he's 1-3 in his last 4, but those 3 losses came to Alejandro Perez, who right up until this recent skid that he's been on looked like he was on a rocket ship in the division. John Dodson, who is always in title contention talks, and then Sean O'Malley, which I know Sean got derailed recently as well, but we know how good of a striker Sean is. Like there's nothing wrong with that. He got one low-class opponent in Gregory Popov, and he handled Popov, knocked him out in the second round. And I feel like that's kind of the situation that we might find ourselves in here. Castaneda is also 1-3 in his last 4. So far, I mean, he looked pretty good against Nathaniel Wood. He looked better than I thought against Nathan Wood. But I'm sorry, it was Nathaniel, and I tried to get Daniel and Nathan out at the same time. That led to Nathaniel. So he's a guy that he got a COVID short notice UFC debut off of 1 win and 2 losses. You just don't see that. This guy has struggled with lower level competition basically his entire career. So I'm not quite ready to say that he's taken this giant jump up. He's now suddenly ready for the UFC. We might be a little overly high on Nathan Wood. I mean, I know he got beat by John Dodson and Casey Kinney. Those are both good opponents, but his only win of note in the UFC is Andre Ewell, a guy who is known to gas out in the third round. He was able to take advantage of that and choke him out, something we've seen time and time again. So, I mean, I just feel like the book is out on Castaneda. I'm not sure if he's ready. I'm not sure if he's going to fit here just yet. The one thing that I do know about him is he's an absolute dog. He's one of these guys that'll take the fire and return. He's willing to turn the tide late in a fight after getting beaten up for a couple of rounds. And that's the one thing that I can kind of see edging out the victory for him here against Eddie Wineland. Eddie might outclass this kid in the first round. Eddie might look great in the second round, but then that age, that durability, it starts to settle in, and the young, hungry kid that just doesn't know when to stop can suddenly start putting it on the veteran. And that's something that I'm a little afraid of happening. So this is probably going to be a pass for me. I lean with the dog and Eddie Wineland. I feel like he's got the skill set, the experience, the ability to turn back the clock on this kid who just isn't quite there yet. But at the same time, John Castaneda is that age that he'll be able to make that improvement. He'll be able to get better fight to fight. And this may be the fight that he shows that off. So I'm not feeling super comfortable on either side of this fight, and I wouldn't be shocked either which way it goes.
Yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention, Castaneda also has a win on the regional scene over Gustavo Lopez, who's in the UFC now. That was a 4th-round finish. So this guy has that experience of sort of fighting, and fought in tournaments as well, like I mentioned for Combate. So I think that experience is going to help him in a situation like this where he's fighting a veteran who has a lot more fights than him. But I know what you're saying. Like I could see a Wineland upset here. You know what I mean? Like Eddie's one of those guys like against the Popov fight, which was in Chicago's at that card back at UFC 238. That's one where, he knocked the guy out in the second round. I believe he was the underdog there. So we'll see. Eddie Wineland's, we'll see. Is this the beginning of the end for Eddie Wineland after the O'Malley loss, or is he going to get a win in there and kind of prove us all wrong? We'll see.
Exactly. So, get that one last veteran wind under his sails. The thing for me, this might be a violence bet spot, James. I might go under 2.5. They got the total set at 2.5 plus 175 plus 185 on that under. And that doesn't sound too bad to me. I mean, we just saw Wineland get a life-changing knockout. Some guys at the end of their careers at this age, you just don't bounce back from that. And that was 7-8 months ago. So even though he's right around that time frame of about 9 months, I like to see people take off after that bad of a knockout. At 36, that still may not be enough time. And we know that John Castaneda, he has volume, he's got power in his hands. I think both these guys could absolutely land the knockout. And Wineland, that's not his first knockout loss. He's had 4 of them. So this may be an underspot where we can turn that into a plus line and just not care who wins as long as it's violent.
Absolutely. Good point.
That might be the play for me. We'll see. Okay. Bug.
It happens.
I hate when that happens. I'm live. Get off me. All right. We have got 377 live viewers. Thank you all so much for spending your evening here with us. We are almost at the end of the preliminary card. This card has a massive preliminary slate, and this is COVID times, so expect to lose 4 of these fights. This card is probably going to get smaller by the time fights kick off, so just a heads up. I do want to give a shout out to my sponsors. We do have GOAT Capital Sports that's been with me since the beginning. Find them at GOAT Capital _ over on Twitter. They have been absolutely crushing the last couple of weeks, and on top of that, they're running this new promotion where you can't lose. They've got a $25 subscription, and if you tail them and you losing record for the week with those picks, you get a refund of your $25. So go check them out. It's a good deal. Let them know Clint sent you, and they've been crushing it. In fact, they called Berger to win the golf tournament on Saturday, and I think he was 12-1. So lots of big scores coming with GOAT Capital. Go check them out.